Well, be it your first job or that summer internship or an internship for a longer period of time, there are lakhs of students around the country who are hoping to get an opportunity of that kind. Lots of top institutions, of course, visit campuses frequently. There are several who also recruit from here, others who take students for internships, which is why, of course, the queues of students outside such events only growing longer. We are at the Faculty of Management Studies, one of India's premier management institutes, with the recruiters. So you're going to hear from them on what they're looking for if you're one of them who's hoping to work with the very best. Joining me now, Mahindra, the Associate Director with KPMG, also Narendra Sethi, VP Operations with Tech Mahindra. Thanks very much both for speaking to us. Mr. Anand, first to you. There are, all those students who have a lot of hope and expectations, from a campus recruitment. So when, say, someone from KPMG is going out there to look for what's on offer, of course, you would only go to the top, I would imagine, handful of institutions in the country.
That's right.
To look for the cream. So you're already sort of got the best on offer in front of you. Among that, who are those students? What have you seen? Who are the students who really make the cut?
So I guess it's the first 5-7 minutes that actually decide which candidates make it. As a recruiter or as a person who's screening individuals, one looks at skill sets, the other is the positive attitude that they have, which they bring to the table in those 5-7 minutes.
Right. That's an important thing. You're saying skills is one thing, but your attitude that is what really counts. Would you agree, or is there something that you'd like to add, subtract to it?
It is generally said that recruiters hire for attitude and not for skills or knowledge which people possess. It's very, very important. And I think there are two things which I personally would, go for. One is the commitment levels, which of course the advantage of selecting people from a premier institute are, they throughout their journey to the institute, they have slogged so much that clearly shows their commitment towards a particular goal, right? Whether it is a goal of reaching a particular institute, studying in a particular institute.
And you can tell all this, I would imagine, with your experience in a couple of minutes.
In the first 5-7 minutes, like what I said, is the deciding period. That's where the body language shows how comfortable the person is, how confident is he, and how prepared is he, because the first few questions actually decide which direction the conversation will go in.
So is it fair to say that the whole idea behind it is to try and throw the student off, really, to try and sort of
Not
understand?
Exactly.
No?
I think what has changed over a period of time is, initially these were called interviews, and now they're called discussions.
I see.
So when you're in a discussion mode, it's a exchange of
sort of
views.
More free-flowing
It's a free-flowing
conversation,
conversation,
as it were.
That's right.
Okay. So when we're speaking, the important point that you made, that skills are already sort of out there. You've been to the best institutes, you've got those skills, you've got a commitment, you've stayed in it for the long run, you made it to that institute, and we keep coming back to attitude. So define that for us. When you say the attitude is very important and you're looking for, what exactly are you looking for in attitude, and how do you gauge it?
Okay. I think first and foremost is how open you are, how willing you are to learn new things, how open you are to suggestions, how open you are to change. So having a very rigid attitude, which is not flexible. Let's say if I make a comment and you try to defend it too much, over defend it. I'm not saying defending it is wrong, but defending it too much or not trying to get the positive message out of that is something which would reflect upon your not so good attitude towards looking at things.
In fact, that's, I think, something that we can keep in mind for beyond that campus placement also, that you don't really need to keep defending it. Does any sort of instance sort of cross your mind at the moment of a moment when you may have questioned somebody, and any sort of instance that comes to mind?
So it's like without naming the individual,
Yes,
I think it's there was an instance where we were in the first 5-7 minutes trying to engage in a discussion, and we threw up something which we felt was not possible.
I see.
To the person, and that person was time and again trying to attempt to ensure that it can be done.
Okay.
And in the end he said, and I said, why are you trying at something which we know can't be done? He said, even impossible says I am possible.
I see.
So that's kind of an attitude that one looks at, which makes a distinction between one candidate and the other.
Okay. And if I were to ask you, what are the sort of the three things that you would suggest that someone going in for such an interview or such a discussion never do? What are the three top no-nos? And then I'll get you to say the three things that you must do and the three things that you must not do. Don't over-defend something.
Don't over-defend something.
So don't get defensive.
Don't get overly defensive about a particular point. Don't try to explain things beyond a certain point. Over-explaining things also could go against you.
So don't go to either extreme. Do
Either
not be
extreme,
laid back. Do not be overconfident.
Absolutely.
Sort of
But be passionate about whatever you're talking, saying.
Right. And before I wrap, there are all those people who say that those few minutes really shouldn't determine the rest of your life. And very often they don't. There are other opportunities that life, of course, throws your way. You just learn to grab them. But for all those who get really disappointed or sort of really take it as a big setback, if they are, say, not picked up by someone like you, what would you say?
I would say that for any kind of a relationship to materialize, it needs to be a win-win. So here, if you don't make it into one organization, by God's grace, there are multiple opportunities that exist today which didn't exist when we were passing out of campus.
Well, last words.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think we at Tech Mahindra, we like what we say, we like to celebrate failures, because whatever learning failures can give you, probably success cannot give you. At times, you will achieve success, but you would not be able to analyze it so thoroughly as you would be able to analyze your failures and learn from it.
It's not the end of the world. Don't treat it like that.
Rather, analyze what's gone wrong, because probably, when you get the right opportunity, you'll be able to use all that learning and become more successful with that.
Right, and that success is going to perhaps be sweeter than you perhaps imagined. But thanks very much for speaking to us, and I hope that you got it all out there. The 3 things that you must do to try and crack that interview, the 3 things that you must avoid, and also always remember that it's not the end of the world if you don't make it this time. Other opportunities there have your name on it. Well, we are taking a quick break on that note. Thanks very much.
If you missed any of our episodes this week, you can catch them again on Sunday between 11:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. only on NDTV Prime. The stress, the exhilaration, the anxiety. This admission season, get a head start. Send us your queries and we will have them answered. College to course, our experts are here to help you decide. Only on Heads Up, every weekday at 6:30 p.m. on NDTV Prime.